So everyone seems to be hating on Little Nightmares 3. After all the excitement for a new addition to the series, its release was hit with a wave of backlash. Steam is getting bombed with bad reviews, YouTube critics are raging, and hardly anyone seems happy with the game. But what exactly is everyone mad about? Does Little Nightmares 3 really deserve all the hate? As a diehard fan of Little Nightmares 1 and 2, and as someone who's recently played both games plus Tarsier's new demo Reanimal, I wanted to find out for myself. Are these reviews actually justified, or is there more to the story? In this video, I share my honest personal review of Little Nightmares 3 as a longtime fan of the series, and what you should know before deciding whether it's worth buying. So first of all, what is everyone upset about? Why are reviews slandering the game? The big debate is that most of these reviews seems to be upset with Bandai Namco's choice of a different development team. The first two games, Little Nightmares and Little Nightmares 2, were developed by Tarsier Studios. The Little Nightmares 3 game is developed by Supermassive Games, that are known for titles like Until Dawn and the Dark Pictures anthology. So they are very well established in the horror game development scene and have put together some great horror titles, but as you can see, a total different art direction and gameplay style. The intellectual property for the Little Nightmares series is owned by Bandai Namco Entertainment, so when Tarsier decided to move on, the series was handed to Supermassive Games. Because of this shift, Little Nightmares 3 has different creative leadership, a fresh set of designers and engineers, and somewhat different vision, even if the aesthetics try to match the Little Nightmare game series. Did this really change the game series so much that Little Nightmares 3 is awful and doesn't match the tone of its predecessors? Well, I will tell you what I think about that in a moment. I will give you a detailed breakdown of why many fans are upset about Little Nightmares 3 in comparison to the previous entries in the series, and what's really changed behind the scenes. Let's talk about Little Nightmares 3, my experiences while playing, and what I liked and what didn't go well. I played Little Nightmares 3 on my PC with ultra high graphics settings and a PS5 controller, just like I did with Little Nightmares 2 and Little Nightmares 1 Enhanced Edition, though I previously also played those titles on PS5 and Nintendo Switch. The world includes a new setting, the Spiral, which is also part of the Nowhere, this nightmarish realm that all the titles take place in. The Spiral introduces several new chapters, for example the Necropolis, which is a desert city, Carnival, which is a twisted funfair, a candy factory, while Little Nightmares 1 and 2 focus on Six and Six in Mono. In Little Nightmares 3 you play as two new protagonists, Lo, who uses a bow, and Alone, who carries a wrench. One of the big changes, this game is built with online co-op in mind for two players, though you can also play solo with an AI companion. I played it solo as Alone with Lo as my AI companion, so my impressions come from that mode. When it comes to playtime, the main campaign takes around 5 hours, with many complaining that the game is too short in contrast to the previous titles. I can say that Little Nightmares 1 takes me less than 2 hours to complete, and Little Nightmares 2 took me about 3 to 4 hours from beginning to end. So regarding playtime, I got the most time out of Little Nightmares 3. In contrast to previous titles, I also had no performance issues, and as a huge improvement, there were virtually no loading times. I really loved that. As mentioned before, many people are criticizing that with the dev change, the feel, art direction and style of the game have changed too much for them to see it as belonging to the series or even to be enjoyable. Well, I beg to differ. In my opinion, as someone who has played the gum out of these games, this game nails the look and the feel of the series. Is it refreshed? Sure. Do the graphics look smooth and improved to the first two games who were released 8 and 4 years ago? Definitely. I agree that the first level, the Necropolis, feels very warm and far less gloomy and sad as we know from the previous settings. It feels a little out of place, but also new and refreshing. The other settings, the candy factory and especially the Carnival, for sure look and feel like a continuation of the Pale City in Little Nightmares 2. As always, the environments are richly detailed. You feel small, vulnerable, surrounded by massive, grotesque structures. It feels and looks great. Audio is superb. The dread, the quiet, the sound cues, the the architecture of fear, one of the few games that I deeply enjoy playing with music and audio on fully. For a cozy gaming channel, taking a lightly scary detour, the aesthetics is just right, spooky without being relentlessly terrifying. The graphics seem all a bit smoother and crispier in the third installment, so the environment and therefore the characters have less of a clay doll feel, if you know what I mean, in contrast to the other games, which doesn't take away from the fact that the character design is on point. Low and Alone look straight like they belong to Six and Mono's crew. The monsters, and one might argue with the exception of the big baby doll monster thing, are very close to the original Little Nightmare style. The supervisor reminded me very much of the teacher, even her movements. The puppets are super similar to the porcelain students. The nurse and the dentist are reminding me of the viewers and definitely could have fit in the hospital setting of the second game. Throughout the world you can spot countless visual threads connecting back to the Little Nightmares 1 and 2, people being mindlessly glued to TVs, the omnipresent eye imagery, triangular designs, and the collectible dolls, some that look like the collectibles in Little Nightmares 1 even, and the gnomes of course. These details make the world feel cohesive and rich in serious lore. As a side note, regarding people who said they will wait for Reanimal because it would feel more like the real third part to Little Nightmares, Reanimal's character's design and art style take a darker, more mature approach and just don't have the original cute but creepy vibes nailed down like the Little Nightmare series, because it is just not meant to. It feels and plays very similar to the Little Nightmares game, even the gameplay mechanics, but it doesn't feel like it's meant to be replacing Little Nightmares 3. What some players are criticizing about Little Nightmares 3, and I have to agree, is that while the first two games captured a powerful sense of despair and isolation, where you felt truly small and alone against a terrifying world of giants, Little Nightmares 3 leans towards cooperation and shared survival. The focus shifts from being utterly alone in the dark to finding connection and a trace of hope amidst the horror. I like that Low and Alone have distinct abilities. Low uses his bow for ranged tasks. Alone uses her wrench to manipulate the environment. Apart from the old trusty torch, we also have a floaty umbrella, which only ever comes into use in the first level. Giving the series a new twist by adding new abilities is great. Otherwise, gameplay mechanics are the same. Nothing has changed. Controls stay the same, therefore jumping from the first two titles right into the third one is smooth as butter. On the one hand, this means everything feels super familiar. You don't have to get used to new game mechanics. On the other hand, this makes gameplay and puzzles a little bit too easy to solve at times. For example, you see a hook, you know you have to climb up the same way as you did in Little Nightmares 1. One thing I really love about the Little Nightmares games is that the game mechanics are exactly what they are: pushing doors, squeezing through gaps, sneaking and hiding from big monsters, manipulating objects, timing movements. This is what Little Nightmares makes the games exactly as wonderful as they are. And Little Nightmares 3 makes use of this exact same formula. The gameplay is not totally alien, some would say a tad too familiar. It keeps puzzles, environment traversal, stealth or chase sequences surreal environments. So the DNA remains, but makes the game predictable if you are familiar with the first two titles. The fact that the game is clearly set up for co-op is a fresh spin on the franchise. Even though I played solo, I could see how it might shine with a friend. The puzzles often require synergy between the two characters. It creates nice moments of, okay, we need to work together logic. One big letdown is the lack of local co-op. What a missed opportunity by the developers to integrate local co-op in a puzzle horror game, which main new feature is supposed to be working together in a two-player team. For me personally, this wasn't a big deal as I played solo anyways, but this might be a deal breaker for some. My only issue playing solo is it took me a bit to figure out how to trigger my AI partner into doing what I need him to do sometimes. Sometimes he also messed up my timing a little. With 6 in Little Nightmares 2, I was never annoyed and loved that if I don't know what to do, I watched her reaction and see what she was up to next. With Lo as my AI partner, that never seemed as reliable. He died on me a few times during my first playthrough and I didn't know why. Overall, Little Nightmares 3 isn't a monster leap forward, but it's a polished and visually striking addition to the series. For our kind of audience, it brings enough to stay interesting. It's atmospheric, it's got selectable co-op, and the campaign is just the right length to enjoy without dragging on. If you go in with reasonable expectations and the mindset of enjoy the world rather than expect the best game ever, you'll probably have a good time. The first two games, of course, set a very high bar when it comes to horror and tension. The third entry makes some clear shifts in design and tone. It doesn't always deliver the same sense of dread or intensity that made the earlier games so unforgettable. But there's the thing, fan disappointment isn't just about liking or disliking the game. A lot of it comes from expectations, from attachment to the first two titles, and from real concerns about the series' creative identity now that the developers have changed. Many reviewers have said it already. While the game has all the right ingredients, the haunting visuals, the eerie mood, the solid platforming, it plays things a little too safe. It feels familiar. For me, this is what I loved. If you've played Little Nightmares 1 and 2, you'll instantly recognize the rhythm, the pacing, the puzzle flow. For new players, that might actually be a strong introduction to this world. That said, if you're into atmospheric, slightly eerie experiences that don't go full horror, Little Nightmares 3 fits nicely in that space. It's moody, it looks beautiful, and it's short enough to enjoy in a weekend. And if you've got a friend to play with online, the co-op mode can really elevate the experience, especially if you both enjoy puzzle platformers with a creepy but not gory vibe. So who should play it and who might want to wait for a sale? If you're new to Little Nightmares, this is a great place to start. If you're a longtime fan that prefers cute horror elements and the typical and familiar Little Nightmares gameplay like me, this game is right for you. If you expect a totally new concept or more horror than the previous titles, maybe wait for a discount or at least lower your expectations a bit. I personally do not get the hate and why people think this game doesn't play like a real Little Nightmares game and feels too different. If anything, it gets too predictable if you are familiar with the predecessors. And of course, I want to hear what you think. If you've played Little Nightmares 3, drop a comment below. Did you play solo or co-op? And which chapter stood out the most for you? If you enjoyed this review and you love games with a cozy twist, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow and lets me keep making more cozy horror and just plain cozy content for you. You can also check out my gameplay of Little Nightmares 1 and 2 if you want to see how the series has evolved over time. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, stay sweet.